if you have questions, if anything comes up during the live, even if it's on the replay, please pop your comments into the comments and I will always come back and answer them to you for you later on. Because at the end of the day, this is all about how do we as women start having these conversations, and how do we start reframing old beliefs in a way that really empowers you. And this for me was a huge thing, talking about the fear of failure and really understanding what it's about. Because the number one thing I always hear is here, oh, Barbara, oh my God, hello darling, it's so good to see you. I'm so used to talking to myself on these things. The number one fear that everybody mentions when they first start working with me is the fear of failure, especially because I tend to set really big goals. And, you know, for me at the end of the day, you have to understand that the goals for me is just to grow. It's all about personal growth, but because we are such driven little individuals, having an actual goal makes it fun. It really, really does. Now, I'm not talking about fear of failure as in when I fail, I die. There's a possibility of death. And sometimes I do crazy shit where like the sky run, if there's certain areas in the sky run where if I failed at that point, failure literally meant death. That's not the fear of failure I'm talking about. I'm talking about the normal fear of failure that everybody seems to have when they start out something, or they think about starting out something, or they're setting up themselves for a big goal, or they decided to build a business, or whatever the question is, right? I want you to just drop into this. Now, as with everything that I share, my intention is not to give you the almighty truth. Like, that would be so silly of me. My intention is for you to just drop in and to feel if this feels true or truer than your old belief. See, I've come to understand that what people fear is not failure, but they fear looking like a failure. Think about it. Like when we're in school, when we're in little kids, failure normally means teasing, labels, scolding. It normally means you get seen as stupid, not good enough. It's never about the actual failure. If we go back to pre-schooling, like being exposed to other people's opinions, right? When you're like a toddler, we fail all the time and we're not afraid of failure. That's how we learn to crawl. It's how we learn to walk. It's how we learn to eat properly. It's how we learn to speak. We learn all these things through repeated failures. And at a young age, it's like, oh, we're encouraged and we're cheered on. It's like, oh, look at you, you just fell down. No problem, baby. Get back up. You can do this. And then something changes. Like all of a sudden, our failures become more public. And so now there's shame attached to the failure. Whether it's the shame of our parents, like, child is still not speaking. Really? Your baby is like 8 months old and she's not walking yet? Really? Your child is 3 years old and she's not reading an encyclopedia yet? Right? So all of a sudden now our perceived failures has a negative impact on somebody, and they give that negative impact on us. So when you are starting out on the next big journey, on the next big goal, ask yourself this. Are you afraid of failing because failure would mean death? Or are you afraid of failing because you don't want to feel like a failure? You don't want to have that shame attached to you or to anybody else? Because from experience, I can tell you, human beings are remarkably resilient fuckers. Like, I have been through some of what society deems the worst times, and I've always come out on the other side. And what I realized along the journey is the only reason most other people stayed down when I got back up was because of pride. Like, they were too proud to have uncomfortable conversations. They were too proud to ask for assistance, to ask for help when they actually really needed it. They were too proud to just say, these are the circumstances that I'm finding myself in, and I'm taking full responsibility for it. But, let's have a conversation and see how we can create a win-win situation going forward that leaves me feeling empowered and proud of myself rather than fearful and shameful. I always find it incredible of how society still thinks that everybody is driven to produce and create better results through fear and shame. Like, yes, for majority of people that is still true, but for some of us it's like, I can't give a fuck. Honestly, I choose not to create from a space of fear. I choose not to create from a space of scarcity because it feels shitty. There's a toxic energy to it, and I don't choose to create anything in that energy. I absolutely choose to create from a space of trust and faith and love. And that is the only things that I am prepared to put out into the world. And you don't get to do that if you are afraid of being seen as a failure. You can fail a gazillion times, darling. Do you understand that failure is just learning? I personally think failure is admirable. It means that you started doing something that was beyond your current capabilities. And you were prepared to fail so that you can then learn something new, so that you can go, oh wow, okay, what is the missing thing that I'm still not seeing? And go find it and implement it. Failure indicates growth. If we are not prepared to fail, what it really says is we're not prepared to grow anymore. We're only prepared to play in our comfort zone of what I already know how to do. And if I do it right the first time, then everybody will think I'm so smart. Like, but so what? You're flatlining, you're dying, because if we're not growing, then we're decaying, we're dying, we're flatlining. There's no excitement. Like, think about it. When you set those really big goals and there is all this fear going on, doesn't it feel exciting? It's like, oh my God, I wonder if I really have what it takes. Like, I wonder how many attempts it's going to take me to get this right. I wonder, what is it that I'm going to learn that I never knew before that's actually going to make a stronger, like more rounded person of me. That is what failure is. It's just showing you little gaps that you haven't seen before. I don't understand why we're not celebrating failure all the time, like we do with little toddlers and little babies when they first learn the basic skills of being a human being. Wouldn't it be amazing if we dropped the fear of failure because we recognize that it's actually a fear of being seen as a failure? And this is what I want to say to you as well. It has been my experience that your A players, your alphas of the world, we don't shame other people for failing. We recognize the effort that goes into anything that results in failure. And we admire that so much. So to sound like a real bitch, do you want to know who actually shames failing? Is losers. Is people with no ambition. is people who are not doing it better than what you are attempting to do it. Those are the only people who will ever shame you for failing at anything. Ask any of my clients and they will say to you, one of the first things I say is, I am not hung up on whether or not you succeed or you fail, because if you fail with me, you're going to fail spectacularly, because sometimes that is what my clients need to experience with me. Sometimes that's where the most growth takes place for my clients, and I will not take that away from them. Failure equals growth. Failure equals growth. Do you get that? And when you just drop into that, then the next time that you say, well, I don't want to take the risk because just now I failed, then ask yourself, whoa, am I actually saying that I don't want to risk growing anymore? Am I done growing? Am I done expanding? Am I done going to the next level? Because that would be fucking sad, wouldn't it? So, I'd love to hear from you guys. What comes up for you when we start talking about the fear of failure? Does it feel more true when I say that it's not really the fear of failure, because when you work it down, what's the worst thing that could happen? It's not actually death. I mean, if the worst thing that could happen is in fact death, then you've got to weigh up your options of how much do you really want it and why it's important to you, right? But if it's not that, then is it really just the fear of looking like a failure? And if it is still that, then are you surrounding yourself with winners? Understanding from this conversation that winners will never shame you for failing, because we understand that it's part of the process and it's courageous and it's admirable? Or are you finding yourself in the midst of average people who actually do not have the ambitions that you have? And if that is the case, then you can stay with some of those people, but honey, you need to also get yourself into the environment of the alphas. You have to have that circle of trusted people who you share your biggest dreams with, who are not only cheering you on, but who are at the same time working on their own spectacular dreams. Because for those people, they don't sit and wait for you to trip up like the other bored people do, because they're so busy hustling on their own dreams. But when they do see you fall, they're going to go, oi, not a problem. Like, just get the fuck up again. Just dust it off. We've got this. Let's keep going. Right? They will bring that continuous momentum to your game that will make you unstoppable. So, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Tomorrow, what I want to talk to you about is the fear of success. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is the one that actually trips most people up, because they all say to me, oh, no, Anel, it can't be that. But then when we dive into what the fear of success really means, they all sit and go, oh, actually, yeah, that is way bigger than the fear of failure. So, we'd love to hear from you guys. Was this useful? Did this actually bring any new things up for you? Any new insights? I am just putting into the comments for you. Clearance to clarity is open. Okay, we're starting on the 26th. Oh my God, so excited about this one. This is me playing, right? This is me really playing my style. And those of you who have done squat with me before, this is the big sister. This is the big sister. This one is going to be next level, next level. This is really for any woman who is at that stage in her life that she's ready to start making the next level of decision and she wants to have clarity. But go and read about it in the comments, because I'm going to take you through a 4-week process. And so this will not only set you up for your next decision, but everything going forward. Okay. do you say? Growth using it right. How many steps followed by a fall does the baby take before they walk? Exactly, Barbara. You know, we kind of lose perspective about these things, I feel. We kind of lose perspective of when do we change how we react to human beings? Like what? And it's never about the actual human being. It's about the onlookers. That's what changes. Because for me, at the end of the day, man, whether you are learning to crawl or learning to walk or learning to ride a bike or learning to run or learning to swim or learning to build a business, there's a finite number of failures that has to happen before your next success. Like there's a finite number of steps, wobbly steps that a baby will take. There's a finite number of falls that will happen for the baby before it can walk. Right? There's a finite number of failures, ladies. Like fail faster. Awesome. I hope this has been in service to everybody. If C2C is talking to you, then go and have a look. The first places have already been taken. I still have, I think there's 7 or 8 places available for the private coaching with me as well. I did make it a really good investment, and there is a payment plan. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we're talking about fear of success and how that could actually be the little devil that's stopping you in your tracks right now. Never forget, only death is inevitable. Thriving is always the choice of the alpha. Live with honor. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.